Thomas lived alone in the deep green jungle of Cora Prime. It was a quiet life, just how he liked it. Far away from cities, noise, and people. His small wooden cabin stood beside a slow-moving river, surrounded by towering trees and the sounds of birds, insects, and the wind rustling leaves. Every morning, Thomas woke up before sunrise. He chopped wood, repaired tools, and made strong black tea in a dented metal kettle. His clothes were rough and worn, his hands strong and scarred. Once, he had been a soldier, a man of war, but that life was far behind him now. He didn't speak about it. He didn't need to. The forest knew his silence. Thomas worked alone, cutting special wood that only grew on Cora Prime. Strong, light, and valuable, it was used in ships and homes across the galaxy. Traders would sometimes come near the jungle border to buy logs, but Thomas never went to the towns. He had everything he needed: peace, nature, and no one asking questions. One rainy evening, as dark clouds rolled over the treetops, Thomas sat near his fire with a bowl of hot stew. The wind howled outside. Lightning flashed. The rain came down, hard, drumming on the metal roof. He was just about to close the shutters when he heard it. A sound, not an animal. Not thunder. It was distant, like a crash followed by a faint, broken scream. Thomas stood still, listening. He didn't move for a few seconds, eyes narrowing. Then, without a word, he grabbed his axe and a flashlight. Pulling on his raincoat, he stepped out into the storm. The jungle was alive with water and wind. Thomas moved quickly but carefully, his boots splashing through puddles and mud. He followed the direction of the sound, guided only by instinct. He passed fallen trees and a slope where a landslide had recently hit. And then he saw it. A trail of broken branches, smoke, pieces of metal scattered across the wet ground. Wreckage. It looked like a small shuttle, the kind rich people used for private travel. One wing was missing, the other half buried in mud. Sparks flew from a control panel, and one door hung open, twisted and burned. Thomas searched the wreck. There was no one inside. Then he saw footprints. Small, light, and rushed. He followed them. Not far from the crash site, near the edge of a steep ravine, he found her. A woman, lying on the ground, soaked from the rain. Her leg was bleeding. One arm was bent at a strange angle. Her face was pale, lips trembling, eyes closed. Without hesitation, Thomas knelt beside her. He checked her breathing, still alive. He gently lifted her up, carrying her in his arms. She was light, barely conscious. On the way back, the rain poured harder, but Thomas didn't stop. He moved carefully but fast, shielding her body with his own from the wind and branches. When he reached his cabin, he laid her on the bed and lit the fire brighter. He cleaned her wounds, wrapped her leg with cloth, and gave her water drop by drop. She didn't wake up fully, only mumbled strange words. Thomas sat beside her through the night, listening to the storm as it raged outside. By morning, the rain had stopped. The jungle glistened under soft light, and steam rose from the ground. Inside the cabin, the woman finally opened her eyes. She looked confused, blinking slowly, trying to sit up. "Easy," Thomas said, his voice calm. "You're safe now." She looked at him, her eyes unsure. "Where?" "Am I?" "In my cabin. Middle of the jungle. Your shuttle crashed." The woman winced and looked down at her leg and arm. I don't remember what happened. Just the crash. Thank you for helping me." Thomas gave her a warm drink. "Drink this. You'll need rest." She sipped it slowly, watching him. "Who are you?" "Thomas." She nodded. "I'm Myra." She didn't say more, and Thomas didn't ask. But even in her weak state, he noticed things. The expensive bracelet on her wrist, now broken and sparking slightly. The fine fabric of her clothes, though torn and muddy. The way she spoke, polite, but used to being obeyed. She was no ordinary traveler, but Thomas didn't care about that. A person was hurt. That was all that mattered to him. Mira looked around at the cabin, simple, clean, handmade. A stone fireplace, wooden shelves, dried. Herbs hanging from the ceiling. You live here, all alone? Thomas nodded. It's peaceful. She was silent for a while, staring at the fire. I thought I was going to die out there. You didn't, Thomas said quietly. You're here now. And with that, the jungle around them fell silent again. Two strangers brought together. By chance, one who wanted nothing but quiet. The other who carried secrets worth millions. Neither of them knew yet that their lives had just changed forever. Mira lay on the small bed inside Thomas's wooden cabin. The thick jungle air came through the open window, carrying the scent of wet leaves and flowers. The pain in her leg and arm had lessened a little, thanks to Thomas's care, but her mind was still cloudy. She tried to remember everything clearly, but pieces of the memory were missing, only flashes remained. She remembered flying over the jungle. A warning light, a sudden shake, a crash. Then nothing. Now she was here, rescued by a man who barely spoke and didn't ask questions. Thomas sat across the room, sharpening a long knife slowly. His movements were quiet, calm. He didn't seem curious about her, but Myra noticed how his eyes watched everything. He missed nothing. There was a strange calm in him, a man used to being alone, and maybe used to danger too. Your shuttle was in bad shape, Thomas said after a long silence. No way to repair it. Too much damage. Mira nodded slowly. I know. I was lucky to survive. Very lucky, he agreed. Mira looked down at her hands. Her wrist device was cracked. She touched it carefully. This should have sent out an emergency signal. I don't understand why no one came. Thomas glanced at the broken device. Might have been blocked. Or someone didn't want the signal to be found. Mira froze at his words. He said it so simply, but the meaning hit her hard. What do you mean? She asked, her voice a bit tight. Thomas stood and poured warm water into a metal cup. He handed it to her. Sometimes accidents aren't accidents. Mira stared at him. Did he know something? No. He was just speaking from experience, probably. Still, his words made her chest feel heavier. She took the cup. Thank you. Again. For helping me. Thomas nodded but didn't smile. You were hurt. I couldn't leave you. You didn't ask who I was, she said, watching him. Didn't matter. But what if I was dangerous? He looked at her for a long moment. You weren't. Mira didn't answer. She looked away, thinking. She was used to being around people who cared about names, ranks, and credits. Out here, none of that seemed to matter. To Thomas, she was just someone who needed help. That made her feel safe and also guilty. She had secrets. She had enemies. And she didn't know if Thomas had just stepped into something much bigger than he realized. Over the next 2 days, Mira's condition slowly improved. She could sit up and even take short steps with Thomas's help. He cooked simple food routes. Fish, jungle fruit. Nothing fancy, but it kept her strong. Mira noticed many things about him. He didn't talk much, but he listened. He treated his tools with care. His hands were steady and his eyes were sharp. There was discipline in him. A past he didn't speak of. One evening, as the sun dipped behind the trees, turning the sky orange and gold, Mira sat outside on a wooden chair. Thomas sat nearby, repairing a net. I used to live in a big city, she said softly. Thomas looked up, waiting. I was part of a tech group. We designed energy systems for deep space colonies. I helped run the company. She paused. Actually, I own most of it. Thomas raised an eyebrow slightly but didn't interrupt. Mira took a breath. I was flying to inspect a new energy site in the southern jungle. Just routine, but my shuttle, it didn't fail by accident. I think someone tampered with it. Thomas kept working on the net but glanced at her now and then. I know it sounds crazy, she continued. But there's something big going on. I found a source of alien energy deep under this jungle. Clean, powerful, unlike anything humans have used before. I was about to announce it, and then the crash happened. Tomas put the net down. Someone wants it for themselves, she nodded. Yes, maybe my business partner, maybe someone bigger, I don't know. But I know I can't trust anyone from the company right now. Do they know where you are? I don't think so. The signal didn't go through. Tomas stood and stepped to the doorway, looking out into the trees. The wind rustled the leaves, then they might come looking. Mira's heart beat faster. You believe me? I've seen what greed can do, he said. And I know when someone's scared but telling the truth. She smiled slightly. You're not just a lumberjack, are you? Tomas didn't answer. Instead, he walked to the far corner of the cabin, opened a wooden chest, and pulled out a small metallic device. It was old, dusty, but clearly a piece of military tech. A communicator. You said there's a site, he said. This alien energy source. Yes, not far. A day's walk, maybe two. Then we need to go before someone else finds it. Mira stared at him. You'd come with me? You're not safe alone. And this jungle. It's not kind to people who don't understand it. She looked at him with new eyes, no longer just a quiet man in a cabin. Tomas was something else. Someone who had been through war, through darkness. Someone who knew how to survive and how to protect. Thank you, Tomas, she said softly. He nodded. Get some rest. We leave at first light. As night fell again over the jungle, the wind picked up, and somewhere in the dark, a silent drone passed overhead, scanning the treetops. Tomas and Mira walked through thick trees and tall grass. Sunlight filtered through the leaves, casting golden patterns on the forest floor. Birds chirped high above, but there was a strange stillness in the air. Tomas noticed it. He had lived in this jungle long enough to know when something felt off. Mira followed closely behind him. Her injured leg was still weak, but she didn't complain. Tomas had carved a walking stick for her and helped her over roots and rocks. The path they followed wasn't marked. Tomas simply knew where to go. His boots made no sound, and he moved like he belonged to the forest. Are you sure we're not being followed? Mira asked, her voice soft. Tomas looked up at the treetops, then at the shadows around them. Not yet, he said. But I can feel eyes. Mira shivered and held her stick tighter. It's probably them, the people who did this to me. Tomas stopped walking. He knelt near a patch of dirt and studied the ground. Footprints, he said quietly. Fresh, 2 people. Heavy steps, maybe armed. Mira's heart started beating faster. Are they close? Maybe half a mile. But they don't know the jungle. They're slow. Tomas stood and looked at her. We need to leave no trace. From now on, we take the high path. He led her off the trail and began climbing over mossy rocks and fallen trees. The new path was harder, but safer. Tomas moved carefully, helping Mira whenever she stumbled. Why are you helping me? She asked as they paused by a small stream. Tomas filled their canteen and handed it to her. You needed help. But there's more to it, isn't there? You've seen things. You're not just a man who cuts wood. Tomas sat on a stone and looked into the trees. I was a soldier once, fought in border wars, lost friends, saw cities burn. After it ended, I came here. I didn't want noise, didn't want people. Mira listened quietly. She sensed he rarely shared this part of himself, but when I found you, he continued, I remembered something. We don't get to hide forever. Sometimes trouble finds us anyway. She looked at him with soft eyes. I'm sorry for what I've dragged you into. He shook his head. I made the choice. Now we see it through. By noon, they reached a ridge with a clear view of the jungle valley below. Mira pointed to a distant cluster of strange black stones rising out of the ground. There, she said. That's where the energy readings came from, the alien site. Tomas studied it. Looks untouched, because it's protected. The tech inside is still active. We couldn't open it before. But we were close to cracking the code. That's when everything went wrong, Tomas nodded. If that's what they're after, they'll be here soon. They rested for a short while and then continued down the ridge, moving faster. Tomas made sure to cover their tracks as they walked. Mira noticed how he used branches to sweep away footprints, and how he always stepped on stones. Not soft ground, but even Tomas couldn't stop what was coming. That night, they camped under a wide rock overhang. Tomas built a fire with special wood that gave off little smoke. He set traps around their camp, silent alarms made from string, bells, and jungle shells. Mira sat beside the fire, arms wrapped around her knees. I used to think I was in control, she said. My company, my money, my plans, but now I feel small. Tomas added another log to the fire. We're all small, even in cities. Mira looked up at the stars. Do you think we'll make it to the site? We will. And after that? Tomas was quiet for a moment. One step at a time. Suddenly, one of the string alarms made a faint click. Tomas stood up at once. He picked up his axe and held a finger to his lips. Silence. Then, a soft rustle in the bushes. Mira's eyes widened. She reached for the small pocket knife Tomas had given her earlier. A low buzzing sound followed. Tomas stepped away from the fire and threw a stone toward the noise. Click. A hidden drone dropped from a tree and sparked before falling to the ground. Scout drone, Tomas said, frowning. They're close. How close? Mira asked. Too close. He looked around. We can't stay here. Grab your things. Within minutes, they put out the fire and packed their gear. Tomas led her into the deeper jungle. They moved through tall vines, crossing a stream and climbing another ridge. The air grew thicker, darker. Mira felt tired, but fear pushed her forward. They won't stop, will they? She asked. No, Tomas said. They're hired, paid to finish the job. And me? They'll want you alive for now. You know the access codes to the site. Mira felt cold. Then we can't let them reach it first. No, Tomas agreed. If they open that place, they'll take power meant for all and sell it to the highest bidder. Just before dawn, they reached a high cliff. Below it, hidden by thick fog, stood the alien site, tall black pillars in a perfect circle, glowing faintly in the dark. We're close, Myra whispered. Tomas looked behind them. A faint light flickered far in the distance. They're coming. Tomas stood still on the edge of the cliff, eyes locked on the faint flicker of light in the far jungle. It was a red beam, artificial, moving slowly between the trees. They're using tracking drones, he said quietly. We don't have much time. Mira looked down toward the alien site below. The black stone pillars stood like silent guards in the morning fog. They looked untouched by time, untouched by man. She felt her heart race. That place held the secret she had risked everything for. How far to reach it? She asked. 2 hours if we go fast, Tomas replied. But we'll leave a trail. If we rush, we don't have a choice. Tomas gave a short nod. Then we move now. They descended the cliff using thick vines and natural ledges. Mira struggled at times, her injured legs slowing her down. But Tomas stayed close, guiding her step by step. Halfway down, a buzzing sound returned. This time louder. Mira glanced up. Another drone? No, Tomas said. A hunter drone, armed. He pulled Mira behind a tree. A sleek silver drone passed overhead, scanning the area with a red light. Tomas picked up a stone and threw it to the left. The drone turned, zipped toward the sound. In that brief moment, Tomas and Mira slipped deeper into the trees. For the next hour, they moved fast but careful. Tomas led them through narrow paths between ancient rocks and thick roots. Every few minutes, they paused to listen. The jungle was loud with insects and birds, but Tomas could hear the difference. Footsteps, distant, heavy. They're on foot. Now, he said. 4 of them, maybe 5, Myra frowned. They'll reach the site too. Not if we get there first. She touched the small device strapped to her waist, a backup data key. We still need to unlock it. Tomas looked. Ahead, we'll find a way. At last they reached the edge of the alien site. The circle of black pillars stood about 20 feet tall. In the center was a flat stone platform with glowing lines running across it like veins of light. It pulsed slowly, alive but asleep. Myra stepped forward, breath caught in her throat. It's even more beautiful than I remember. Tomas kept watch behind her. Can you open it? She knelt beside the platform and pulled out her data key. I'll try. It responded to my DNA before. It should react to me again. As she pressed her palm to the stone, a soft hum filled the air. The lights pulsed faster. The center of the platform began to shift, opening like petals of a flower, revealing a glass-like core beneath it. Tomas's grip tightened on his axe. Hurry. Myra worked quickly, typing codes on the screen of her backup device. The alien system responded slowly, reading her actions. Then click, the core lit up fully, casting a blue glow all around. Myra smiled. It's working. I've unlocked it. Suddenly, crack. A gunshot echoed through the jungle. The ground near Tomas exploded with dirt. He grabbed Myra and pulled her behind one of the black pillars. They're here, she shouted. Tomas peeked around the stone. 4 armed mercenaries entered the clearing, dressed in black armor and helmets. One held a rifle, scanning the area. A voice called out, cold and clear. Myra, we don't want to hurt you. Hand over the data key. You've done enough. She shouted back, I know who sent you. You won't get away with this. We already have. Your signal never reached anyone. You're alone out here. Tomas whispered, stay down. He pulled out 2 smoke flares from his bag and tossed them in opposite directions. They burst with thick gray smoke, covering the clearing. Using the smoke as cover, Tomas moved fast like a shadow. Crack! Another gunshot rang out, but it hit a pillar. Tomas appeared behind one mercenary and struck with his axe. The man dropped without a sound. Before the others could react, Tomas disappeared again into the smoke. Myra stayed low, clutching the device. Her heart pounded, but she trusted him. Tomas wasn't just strong, he was smart, fast, and knew how to fight like a ghost. The smoke cleared slowly. 2 more mercenaries stood confused, firing blindly. Tomas dropped from a low branch and kicked one to the ground. He disarmed the other in a quick, silent motion. Only one remained, the leader. He aimed directly at Tomas and fired but missed. Before he could shoot again, Myra stepped out from cover and yelled, Stop! You'll destroy the tech. The man hesitated. Give it to me, Myra. She looked at Tomas. He nodded once. She tossed the data key into the air. The leader looked up to catch it, but Tomas charged in and tackled him. They rolled across the ground, the gun flying out of reach. The 2 men fought hard. The leader was strong, trained, but Tomas had jungle strength, pure and steady. With one final blow, Tomas knocked him out cold. The clearing fell silent again. Smoke drifted through the trees. Birds returned to their song. Myra stepped forward, breathing hard. Is it over? For now, Tomas said, wiping sweat from his forehead. She picked up the data key and looked down at the glowing alien core. It's awake now. We can share this with the world. Tomas looked at her. You still want to give it away? Yes, it could power hundreds of colonies. I never wanted it for money. That's why they tried to stop me. He nodded slowly. Then let's protect it. They dragged the unconscious mercenaries to the edge of the site and tied them with vines. Myra used the unlock system to send a stronger, direct signal to the nearest planetary station. This time, it went through. Tomas stood guard, axe in hand. Within an hour, a rescue ship appeared above the jungle. Myra turned to Tomas. They'll take us to the city. You can finally leave this place." But Tomas looked back at the trees. "I don't know if I belong there." "You belong where people need you," she said. "And right now I do." He looked into her eyes and saw honesty, not power. After a pause, he nodded. "Then let's finish what we started." The rescue ship hovered just above the tree line, blowing leaves and dust into the air. Its engines hummed softly, unlike the loud city ships Mira remembered. It was sleek, silver, and carried the mark of Mira's company dot as the ship landed. Two people stepped out, one man in a clean black uniform and a woman wearing a headset and long coat. They both looked serious. "Mira Lang," the woman called. "We've been looking for you for days." Mira stood beside Thomas near the glowing alien site. "I sent a signal. Did you get it?" "Only today. Your last one was blocked," the woman said. "It didn't come through." Thomas narrowed his eyes. He didn't trust Easy, and this woman's tone felt wrong too calm. Mira nodded slowly. "I was in a shuttle crash. I believe someone from inside the company caused it." The woman smiled politely. "Let's get you back first. We'll talk about that later." Tomas leaned toward Mira and whispered, "She's lying." Mira's heart skipped. "I think so too." Still, they climbed into the ship together. Tomas kept his axe close, though the guards looked at it with slight amusement. Inside the ship, Mira was taken to a medical bay. A doctor checked her injuries and gave her clean clothes and food. She asked about Tomas. "He's resting," they told her, but Mira didn't believe it. Tomas wouldn't rest. Not with strangers. After being alone for a moment, she accessed the control panel near her bed. Her fingers moved quickly, entering private login codes. She searched for messages, records, and most importantly, surveillance logs. She found something. Something that made her freeze. Video file, private call, 3 days before crash. Her business partner, Heaven, was speaking to the same woman who came on the ship, the one who claimed to be part of the rescue team. Heaven's voice was cold. "She's moving too fast. If she opens that site, we lose control. Handle it, quietly." The woman nodded in the video. "Accident in the jungle. Her shuttle will go down. We'll collect the tech after." Mira stared at the screen, heart pounding. It wasn't just suspicion anymore. It was proof. Mira left the room quietly and walked through the hallway, avoiding cameras when she could. She found Tomas sitting alone in a storage room, sharpening a blade on a stone. "You were right," she said softly. Tomas looked up. "I saw the video. Heaven planned everything. The woman who came for us is part of it." Tomas nodded once, not surprised. "They'll try to take the tech." "They're not taking it," Mira said. "I sent a secure file to the Interplanetary Science Board. The data about the alien energy is out. It's public now." Tomas smiled slightly. "Smart. But they'll still come after us," she added. "Then we don't stay." The ship landed on a private company base near the city. From the outside, it looked like a normal research center. White walls, shiny windows, men and women lab coats. But inside, power games were being played. Mira was led into a large office where Heaven waited. He stood by a wide glass window, looking out at the city. "Myra," he said warmly, "I'm so glad you're alive." "Don't act," she replied. "I saw the video." Heaven didn't blink. "You don't understand the pressure I was under. Investors, governments. You were going to hand over the biggest power discovery in human history for free. It belongs to everyone." "Not in the real world," he said quietly. "Do you think your message will stop us? The board doesn't care about morals. They care about results. That's where you're wrong." Behind her, the doors opened. Tomas stepped in, holding a small device in his hand. "I uploaded your video," he said. "Everyone will see it." Heaven stepped back. "You don't know what you've done." "Yes," Tomas said. "We've told the truth." Heaven reached for a security panel, But before he could touch it, the screen on the wall lit up. A live feed from the science board. A judge-like figure appeared. Ms. Mira Lang. The voice said, "We've received your report. Your findings and the attached video have been reviewed. We are launching an immediate investigation." Haven went pale. Thomas stepped forward. "Now what?" Mira looked at Haven. "Now I take back control of my company." In the days that followed, Haven and his team were removed. The board froze their assets. Mira stood before cameras, explaining everything: the crash, the alien site, the attempt to cover it up. People listened. News channels across planets shared the story. Scientists praised Mira's decision to make the energy tech public. She was called brave, bold, and honest, but she didn't care about fame. She only cared about doing the right thing and about the man who had stood by her when she had nothing. One evening, as the city lights glowed and flying cars passed overhead, Mira sat on a balcony overlooking the jungle in the distance. The same jungle that had nearly taken her life. Tomas joined her, wearing a clean shirt instead of his usual coat. But his eyes were the same calm, steady. "You never wanted to be part of this," she said. "I still don't," he replied. "But I stayed for you." Myra smiled. "What will you do now?" "I'm not sure. Maybe build a new cabin, closer to here." She leaned back. "You could help me. I'm creating a team to protect untouched planets. To keep energy like this safe from greedy hands." Tomas thought for a moment. "I'll need a sharp axe. I'll make sure of it." They sat in silence for a while, the wind brushing their faces, both changed by the jungle, the fight, and the truth that had come out at last. Tomas stood on the edge of the jungle once again. But this time, he wasn't alone, and he wasn't just a man hiding from the world. Now he was something more, a protector. Mira's team had built a small outpost near the alien site. Not a base made of metal and glass, but one built with respect for the land. The structures blended into the trees. Solar panels hid among the leaves. Drones hovered quietly above, scanning the area for threats. Still, Tomas didn't trust machines. He trusted the ground under his boots, the sound of birds changing pitch, the feeling in his chest when something wasn't right. And today, something wasn't right. He moved silently through the trees, axe strapped to his back, senses alert. The air smelled of heat and something faintly metallic. He bent down and touched the soil. Tracks. Heavy boots. Fresh. Back at the outpost, Mira was inside the command tent, going over satellite readings with her science team. "We've confirmed the site is stable," a young woman said. "The core is still responding only to Myra's biosignature." "Good," Myra replied. "No one else should be able to access it." Suddenly, the tent flap opened. Tomas stepped in, eyes sharp. "We have company," Mira stood. "Who?" 3 men armed. "Not jungle locals, not scientists. I'd say mercenaries." Mira's face tightened. "But how? The location is private." "They must have followed the energy signals. Or someone sold them the coordinates." She turned to her team. "Get the backup drives ready. Prepare the security drones, but no weapons unless I give the order." Tomas touched her arm. "They won't come to talk. I'll handle them." The sun hung low as the shadows stretched across the trees. Tomas stood at the edge of the clearing. Across from him, the 3 intruders appeared. All wore black armor, each carrying rifles. Their leader was tall, bald, with a red tattoo running down his face. "Well," the man said, smirking. "I was expecting guards in suits, not a man with an axe." Tomas didn't smile. "You're trespassing." "We're here for a piece of technology," the man said. "You don't want trouble. Just hand it over." Tomas stepped forward. "Go back the way you came. This place is protected." The mercenary laughed. "You're alone." "No," Tomas said. "I have the jungle." At that moment, something buzzed in the air. Mira's security drones flew out from the trees and hovered above the intruders. Their red lights blinked, scanning every move. Still, the mercenaries raised their guns. Crack! One fired a shot. A drone sparked and dropped. Tomas moved like lightning. Before the second shot could fire, he dashed forward, closing the distance between him and the first mercenary. He swung his axe low, knocking the gun aside, then pushed the man back with a powerful kick. The second mercenary turned to aim at Tomas, but vines shot from the trees, part of the jungle's own defense system Mira had installed. The vines wrapped around his legs, pulling him to the ground. The leader shouted, "Spread out," but it was too late. Tomas was already on him. They fought hand to hand, fist against fist, strength against speed. The mercenary was strong, trained, but Tomas was grounded, calm, and full of purpose. He didn't fight with rage. He fought with control, a punch to the chest. A swing of the axe handle to the side. The mercenary fell. Mira arrived seconds later, guards behind her. She looked around at the fallen intruders, then at Tomas, who was breathing heavily but unharmed. "Are you all right?" she asked. He nodded. "They weren't ready for the jungle. We'll have them picked up by the planetary patrol. The science board will make sure they answer for this." Tomas looked around. "Next time, they'll come with more." Mira's face turned serious. "Then we build stronger defenses. Not just walls, but people." She looked at her team. "From now on, this site will be protected by those who understand it. Tomas, I want you to lead the guard team." He frowned. "I'm not a commander anymore." "You don't have to be," she said. "Just a man who sees what others don't. That's more than enough." Tomas looked at the jungle. His home. His quiet world that had changed so quickly, but he understood. Now peace was not just about hiding. It was also about standing strong when it mattered most. That night, the outpost was calm again. The stars above shone brighter than ever. Mira and Tomas sat near a small fire, just like the one in his old cabin. "You've changed," she said softly. Tomas looked into the flames. "No, I just remembered who I used to be." "And who is that?" "A man who doesn't run," she smiled. "Well, I'm glad you didn't." They sat in silence for a moment. Then Mira asked, "Do you miss your old cabin?" "Sometimes," he replied. "But this place feels right now." She looked at him. "So will you stay?" He glanced at her, then nodded. "I will, as long as I'm needed." "And after that?" "Then I'll build a new cabin," he said with a small smile. "Maybe closer to you this time." Mira laughed. Gently, the sound mixing with the wind in the trees. The jungle was no longer just a place of survival. Now, it was a place of purpose. The sun rose gently over the jungle, casting golden light through the thick green canopy. The air was fresh, and the morning sounds of birds and distant insects filled the space with calm. It was a new day, quiet, yet filled with purpose. Tomas stood near the alien site, now protected and watched over by a small team he had trained himself. He wore a simple vest, boots covered in dust, and a tool belt across his waist. He no longer looked like a man running from the past. He stood tall, grounded, focused, and peaceful. Mira walked up the path from the outpost, carrying a tablet in her hand. Her face was calm but thoughtful. She had just finished a call with the science board. News from the capital was spreading fast. The board confirmed it. She said as she stopped beside Tomas, "The alien energy will be shared with all colony worlds. No private companies. No locked ownership." Tomas nodded slowly. "That's good. It should belong to everyone." They also approved funding for more outpost protected ones. They want people like us to lead them. Tomas looked at her. "People like us?" Mira smiled. "People who understand more than power. People who've lived close to the land. Who know what it means to protect something with more than just walls and cameras." He looked back at the site. The black pillars stood tall and quiet, still, glowing faintly. Nature had accepted them, and now humans were learning to do the same. What about the company? Tomas asked. I stepped down, she said. It wasn't mine anymore, not in the way I wanted it to be. He turned to her, surprised. You gave it up? I've started something new, she said. An open research group. No owners. No hidden deals. Just scientists, explorers, and protectors. Tomas watched her face. She looked lighter, freer than the woman he had pulled from the jungle weeks ago. There was still strength in her eyes, but now it was calm, not forced. She continued, and I want you to be part of it. You know this land, you've lived it. People will listen to you. Tomas gave a small smile. I thought I'd be back in my cabin by now. But you're still here, she said. He nodded. Because I want to be. Days passed and the jungle began to change, not by force, but by care. The outpost expanded slowly, using local materials, working with the land instead of against it. Tomas trained new guards and scouts. He taught them how to read the signs of the forest, the way birds grew silent before danger, how broken branches meant movement, and how to move without leaving a trace. He also rebuilt his cabin, but this time not far from the outpost. It had the same stone fireplace, the same wooden roof, but now it had a second chair beside the fire. Mira visited often. Sometimes to talk about work, sometimes just to sit in silence. They didn't need many words between them. One evening, as the wind blew gently through the tall grass, Mira sat on the wooden steps of Tomas's new cabin. The stars twinkled above. A small lamp glowed beside her. Tomas stepped out, carrying 2 cups of tea. She took hers and smiled. You make it the same every time. It works, he said, sitting beside her. They sat quietly for a moment. Then Mira spoke. I used to believe I had everything figured out. Money, power, goals. I thought I was happy. And now, he asked, now I feel full. Like I'm where I'm supposed to be. Tomas looked up at the stars. That's rare. She glanced at him. Do you ever miss your old life? He was quiet for a moment, then shook his head. That life is what taught me to value this one. I miss people I lost, but I don't miss the noise, the fighting. I don't miss being someone I wasn't. Mira looked down at her cup. I think I only found who I am because of that crash. He turned to her. You didn't find yourself in the crash, Mira. You found your strength when everything fell apart, and you still stood. She smiled. And I didn't stand alone. No, he said softly. You didn't. Weeks turned into months. The jungle site became a center for peaceful research. Students, thinkers, and explorers came from far away, not to take, but to learn. The alien energy was studied and shared carefully, giving clean power to colonies that had lived in darkness for too long. Mira became known as one of the most honest leaders in the new world of science. People trusted her, not just for her knowledge, but for her heart. And behind her, always close, was Tomas. He rarely spoke at events. He didn't like crowds, but he was there. When decisions had to be made, when problems needed solving, people looked to him. One day, as the jungle flowers bloomed brightly and the trees swayed in the breeze, Mira stood beside Tomas on a quiet hill overlooking the site. This was never the life I imagined, she said. Neither was mine, Tomas replied. She looked at him. But it feels right, doesn't it? He nodded. It does. She stepped closer. Do you ever wonder what would have happened if you hadn't found me in the jungle that day? No, he said. Because I did, she smiled. That day changed everything for both of us. They stood there for a long time, side by side, watching the jungle breathe, not just survivors, partners, and somewhere deep inside, both knew this was not the end, that it was only the beginning.